If we want to live well, both externally and internally, how well we live here simply depends on how well we manage our surroundings and how well we manage ourselves. Fundamentally, life is management. If you don't know how to maintain your body, your mind, your emotion, your situations, your life in general, your home, your communities, nations and the world, the quality of our life is just how well we manage things with ourselves. Today, the most predominant factor that rules the planet has become economics. The other aspects of life have been totally pushed to the corner. When economics rules, when economics is the only thing that we are thinking about, we will tend to become very gross and unhappy in so many ways. After all, everything that you did in your life is in pursuit of happiness, isn't it? All that you're doing in your life, you're doing it because you believe that is your happiness. You educate yourself, you pursue careers, you build families, you run after your ambitions. So many things you do because somewhere you believe fulfilling those things will bring you happiness. After doing all that, if happiness is not multiplying, it is going down, that means you are a bad manager of yourself. Anybody who does not know how to manage his own body, his own mind, his own emotion and his energies, if he is managing outside situations, he is only managing them by accident, not by intent, the way he wants it. Because if you do not know how to manage your mind, how to manage your energies, how to manage your interiority, managing the outside is bound to be accidental. When you manage situations by accident, you exist as an accident. When you exist as an accident, you are a potential calamity. When you exist as a potential calamity, being anxious all the time becomes a natural part of life. Somehow people have come to the conclusion that if you do things in the world, you're bound to be stressful. One is not stressful because of what they're doing. One is stressful because he's a bad manager of himself. He doesn't know how to manage his own systems. That is why he's stressful. It is not the nature of the job which makes one stressful. If you have no control over your own systems, you will be stressful. Whether you do something or you don't do anything, isn't it so? See, management means… fundamentally, management means we want to decide the course of our destiny. That's management, isn't it? We don't want to live here by accident. We want to take our lives where we want to go. That's management, isn't it so? If you're managing by accident, you are not a manager. Without you, things will run better. So once you say, I'm a manager, that means somewhere you have decided that you want to go in a particular way. You want to have a certain kind of situation, both inward and outward. So everybody is a manager in his own capacity, but in different levels and different types. Whether you manage a kitchen where you cook for 4 people, or you manage a large industry where 10,000 people work, fundamentally, if you want to have a good kitchen or a good industry, you must be a good manager of that situation, isn't it? So whether you're managing a little kitchen or a large industry, if you want to manage outside situations, generally you will have to manage material and people around you. If you have to manage 10 people or 10,000 people around you, you have to manage 10 minds or 10,000 minds around you. But if you have no management over your own mind, you managing 10,000 minds is going to be a disaster. In the process of doing something, if we are destroying human beings, which is happening right now, in the process of managing a situation, the man is broken, then this kind of management is no good, because after all, every management that we do is only for human well-being. If we are doing management for human well-being, in the process of doing something, in the process of managing situations, It is not only about producing something or making profit. Human beings should rise to their full potential. If we manage a situation properly, in simple process of working, you and the people who are working with you should be able to raise to their full potential. When I say rising to full potential, not just work potential, but as human beings, they must be able to rise to their full potential. If people work together, then people should be able to rise to the peak of their love, peace, compassion within themselves. If this doesn't happen, then it's bad management, because all management, the basic intent is human well-being. If that is not happening, you're just producing something, you're making little profit, but human beings are getting broken in the process, it doesn't mean anything. So if this kind of management has to happen, that just in managing a business, you find people around you raise to their peak, then you have to spend a certain amount of time in focusing on your inner management. If this doesn't happen, you will only manage situations by accident. A lot of people have understood management as a way of throwing their weight around. Throwing your weight around is not management, any fool can do that. If you manage a situation, not just things happening there, people should feel elevated just being in that space, otherwise it is not management. Above all, if you go to a place and you manage a situation, you must feel wonderful being there. If that doesn't happen, you are not a good manager. So if this has to happen, you need an inner dimension. When I say inner dimension, what is inner dimension? When I say inner, I'm not just talking about the body or the mind, because both this body and mind you gathered from outside in certain ways, isn't it? For example, this physical body, when you were a child, this body was only this much. Now it's become this much. How did this happen? What you call as my body is actually a heap of food that you gathered. What you call as food is just a piece of earth that you convert it into food and make it into body, isn't it? So this body is just a heap of food that you gathered over a period of time. What you call as my mind is a heap of impressions that you gathered from outside. Now you have a heap of food and a heap of impressions. If this much gathering has to happen, something more than this must exist, isn't it? If you are capable of gathering such a large body and so much mind, there must be something more fundamental than this. But that never comes into your experience. You're just lost in these two heaps, trying to make some sense out of it. Now, as there is a science, as there is a management science for external well-being, there is a management for science for inner well-being. It is just that most of the time we have not approached it scientifically. We're just believing by doing something, somehow everything will be okay. Right now, people are thinking by educating themselves they will live happily ever after, which you will discover after some time it's not so. By getting a job, they think they're going to be happy ever after, which you will discover it is not so. By making money, you think you're going to be happy ever after, you will discover it is not so. Trying to somehow fool yourself into believing that by doing something, everything will be okay. Though repeatedly it has let you down, still you believe that something else, some other miracle will make everything okay. It'll not be okay. It once happened. On a certain day, a bull and a pheasant were grazing on the field. You know a bull? A pheasant, a bird. The bull was grazing on the grass, the pheasant was picking ticks off the bull, they're partners, you know. Then the pheasant looked at a huge tree which was at the edge of the field and very nostalgically said, "Alas, there was a time when I could fly to the topmost branch of the tree, but today I do not have the strength even to fly to the first branch of the tree." The bull very nonchalantly said, "That's no problem. Eat a little bit of my dung every day. You will see, within a fortnight's time you will reach the top of the tree." The pheasant said, "Oh, come off it. How is that possible?" The bull said, "Really, please try and see. The whole humanity is on it. You could try too." Very hesitantly, the pheasant started pecking at the dung, and lo, on the very first day it reached the first branch of the tree. In a fortnight's time, it reached the topmost branch of the tree. It just went and sat on the topmost branch and just looking at the scenery, enjoying it. The old farmer saw a fat old pheasant on the top of the tree. He took out his shotgun and shot him off the tree. So the moral of the story is, even bullshit can get you to the top, but never lets you stay there. If you are seeking a life of fulfillment, if you are seeking a life of joy and peace and well-being within yourself, don't try to bull yourself in some way. You must do the right thing, otherwise it won't work. Now that you are managers or to be managers, probably, definitely, I hope they have taught you that unless you do the right thing, it doesn't work with outside. The same goes with the inside. Unless you do the right thing, it just doesn't work. You may just bull yourself to believe that this will make me all right, that will make me all right. Yes, for a moment, but the next moment you crash. Please see, successful people, unsuccessful people, just look at their lives and see in 24 hours, how many moments are they really joyful? How many? You go on the street and see how many joyful faces do you see on the street? Very, very few, isn't it so? Yes? If you see any, usually they are young faces. Over 30 faces are all long faces. What's happened to them? For most of them, their lives have worked out far better than they ever imagined. If you look at yourself as a generation, never before another generation of people have been this comfortable and this well physically as you are right now, isn't it? Isn't it so? We are the most comfortable generation. No other generation has known these kind of comforts and conveniences. But still, are we any happier than what people were? This is simply because we did not do inner management. We just did external management, no inner management. In the process of creating what we want, the very source of our life, this planet, we're just destroying, isn't it? In pursuit of our happiness, we are just making a bonfire out of this planet, but still we are not satisfied, nor are we any more joyful than what we were 500 years ago as people were, isn't it? So somewhere we have neglected the interiority. So to turn inward, what is needed? One reason why most young people here had never made any effort to turn inward is because today, any thinking person, the moment he can read ABC, speak English and he has extra alphabets next to his name, he develops an allergy towards anything spiritual. This is not your fault. These so-called spiritual people have made such jokers out of themselves. They have presented spirituality in such terrible ways, ridiculous ways, that anybody who has any sense doesn't want to go anywhere near it. See, a spirituality means to know something which is beyond the physical. Right now, if you exist as a physical entity, as a body, as a mind, because both these things are accumulations from outside, whatever happens outside will happen inside. If what happens outside begins to happen within you all the time, then you being peaceful and happy is always accidental. Because it doesn't matter who you are, how powerful you are, how great a manager you are, external situations will never be 100% in your control. That's the nature of the life. Even if you're just two people in the family, still you don't have absolute control over the situation, isn't it so? As the scope and play of your life increases, you have less and less control over the situations in which you live. That's the reality of life. So if whatever is happening outside is happening within you, you being peaceful and happy in your life is a faraway thing, it's never going to happen. Only when a person begins to experience a dimension beyond the physical within himself, then he can play with the physical world whichever way he wants. He can do the best that he can do with the outside world, but the interiority is undisturbed, always the way you want it. I would like you to understand, there is a whole science of inner management. If you don't learn that, you may manage businesses, you may manage industry, but still you will not live a life of fulfillment and well-being.